Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do some value study practice today. So we're going to be practicing using value. We are also going to practice using our material, which today is charcoal. So we're going to read and follow directions, and there are also going to be some cut-ins that you'll notice where we'll actually look at the objects at our table. So first, you're going to create a value scale going from the darkest dark to the lightest light on this bar here to the left. So you can start top or bottom, it doesn't matter. But you're going to make one box as dark as you can get it. And how we do that with charcoal is layers. So we put a layer, we blend a little bit, we put another layer. Okay, so now we've got that one as dark as can be. The top one needs to be light. So what you could do is just put a little bit and blend it out so that it's even. So each box is going to get progressively darker. So maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more layering too. If you find that something is a little too light and not quite dark enough, add in a little bit more, a little at a time. Because for the most part, you're not going to have erasers today, and charcoal doesn't erase very well. It blends out, but it doesn't erase. So there we go, that one's a little darker. Continue down, slowly putting more and more charcoal on the page. So this is not a process that's going to go necessarily very quickly, but you want each box to be slightly darker than the next one. So part of it's about pressure, part of it's about blending, making sure that each box gets darker. So you notice each box starts off with more, I blend, I add a little bit more. This charcoal is all about layering. Once that bar to the left is done, and you've made each layer a little darker than the previous, you are then going to move on to the next step. Now, if you are left-handed, you may want to start over here since you'll be working this way and you don't want to smudge the drawings that you're completed. I am right-handed, so I'm going to go right or left to right. If you're left-handed, go left or right to left. So, first we are going to look at the objects at our table. So if you look closely, the light is coming in from this direction right here, and where the light hits the ball, it is very light. So it's the lightest values are up here. It slowly starts to get medium as it comes down. It's medium in this kind of area here, and then it slowly blends until it gets to the darkest area. You also notice, you'll see the cast shadow on the table. That is the shape of your object. So you've got the values inside, the light, the medium, and the dark, and then the cast shadow underneath. So now that we have looked at the sphere, you're going to draw an arrow where the light is coming from. Your table, it might be coming from a different direction, but that's okay. Just draw the arrow where the light is coming from. And then you are going to, so we've drawn an arrow where the light is coming from. Then you're going to start light and gradually get darker. It's very hard to get charcoal lighter than it is. It's very easy to get it darker. So you're going to start with the light areas, blend them out, and then slowly get darker. So that darker area, and you want to kind of make sure you're blending in between, because remember on that sphere we just looked at, it was dark at one side, it was kind of medium towards the middle, but there weren't any really lines between the values. So you want to make sure that you keep that blended. Alright, so it went from light to dark, it got really dark at the edge. So I created shadows that used all the value scales. So I should be using lights, I should be using mediums, I should be using darks. That's why we did this bar first. So if you don't see this value scale in your object, you don't have enough value. Then the last step is to create an outside shadow where the light is coming from. So then you're going to draw going out, that cast shadow. Alright, so now that my sphere is done, I'm going to move on to my cylinder. So once again, I'm going to start at the beginning of the list. I'm going to look at my object and try to figure out what makes it accurate. Alright, All right, so now let's look at the cylinder. How is it different from the sphere? You will notice the top is almost all light except for this little lip right here. The light, once again, is coming from this direction. So you'll see that this right here is where the light is, and then it slowly gets darker until it hits the darkest darks back here right at the edge. So unlike the sphere, which got light to dark this way, cylinders always go light to dark horizontally, so that there's kind of these vertical stripes. But you don't want to see stripes, you want it to slowly fade going across. So now that we're coming back from looking at that video, I'm going to draw my arrow. This time my light was on this side. And then it slowly got darker. So this got medium, this got dark. Blend that in and see if I need to do another layer. So I'm careful as I'm blending so that I'm not just blending all over the place and making a big mess. I'm paying attention to where I'm moving that charcoal, because that's what you're doing when you're blending charcoal. You're moving it around the page. Now I can take a clean finger to lighten things up. Maybe I want to go back and lighten a little bit of this up too. So kind of keep a couple of clean fingers to lighten things up. Use the same kind of ones to darken things up. Now that top was a little dark. At this point I can use some of the charcoal that's already on my hands to make that light value. And then get that dark over here really dark. Make sure there's no lines so that it blends. And then do the outside shadow. Alright, so now my sphere is done. So now I'm going to move on to my cube. Alright, the last shape we are looking at is our cube, or our box shape. You will notice that, unlike the other shapes, there are hard lines between the values, so it doesn't fade from one to the other. Since our light is coming from this direction, the side that it hits is light. That entire side is the same value of light. Then if you go over here, this is all medium. Now it's a lighter medium, but it's definitely darker than that top value. And then down here is our dark. This is the darkest value. Once again, it's got the cast shadow on the table. That is dark as well. So we've got our light, our medium, and our dark. There is no blending in between. The lines are nice and heavy. So, just like in the video, the cube is a little different. So you're going to draw the arrow where the light is coming from. That top side was light, so we're just going to put a light value of charcoal on there. And then this side was medium. Now it was only like a medium light. It was only like, if we go back over here, it was only like up in here. It wasn't really a dark medium. So I'm just going to make it slightly darker than that top. I'm going to try to keep it even all the way around it. Make sure it's a little darker than... And then I am going to put my dark side. Now this time around I am not blending between the values because each side of the cube is a little different. That's because it's a hard-edged object versus a soft-edged object. Last but not least, I'm going to put my cast shadow. Now my cast shadow for this one is going off the page, and that's okay. As long as you've got the beginnings of that cast shadow, I know that you understand what you're doing. So you're going to follow all these steps until your worksheet looks like mine. And then you are going to turn it in.